Welcome to the 22nd episode of Let's Conquer Books. James R. Lowell said, "Books are the bees which carry the quickening pollen from one to another mind." In this episode, I talk about the 4 agreements you should make before reading any book, which are always do your best, don't take anything personal, don't make assumptions, and be impeccable with your word. So let's get into it. I'm Alexander the Great Reader, and this is a podcast where we read, study lessons, and build our inner power because the next level we will reach does not tolerate cowards. The 4 Agreements book is by Miguel Ruiz. It's a book I read a long time ago, small book, easy read. I recommend it to everybody. He is from Mexico, I think, or Central America, and his ancient past, his ancient history, he studied it a lot. It's called the Toltec wisdom or Toltec people. He kept reading and studying, and he found 4 agreements that Toltec people made that he uses himself and now recommends to others. And that's what inspired this book. And it inspired me to make this podcast where you can use these 4 agreements in every area of your life. But since this is a book about conquering books, you should use them when reading books. So the first agreement is always do your best. Now, if you only can read 5 minutes a day and that is your best and you're putting all your effort, that's fine. Read 5 minutes. If it's 10 minutes, 10 minutes. So just do your best. Make the time available. Put the energy, the strength, the time. If you only can read 5 pages a day, that's fine. Whatever it is, just do your best when reading books. Do your best in exploring new topics, genres, and authors. Maybe you don't understand everything you're reading on these new topics or genres. Maybe you don't understand what this author is talking about because he's just going from here and there and all these subjects and thoughts and ideas that you've never heard of. Just do your best. Stick with it. Reading older books, you always got to do your best. You know, they write books in different languages sometimes. They come from a different time. Their experiences are different. The way they viewed the world is different. So do your best to understand the author, understand those times, understand what they were experiencing, understanding their views. Just do your best when you're reading books that are older. The second agreement is don't take anything personally. This is very important because when you're reading a book by an author, he might mention things about his own life or others' life, like their beliefs. Maybe he has religious beliefs you don't agree with. Don't take that personally. Just keep moving on. There's a reason why you're reading this book, and get the one thing or the couple things out of the book. Maybe he's talking about personal experiences that you don't agree with. I read a lot, and lately I've noticed that a lot of successful people, a lot of authors have dabbled in the world of psychedelics, taking mushrooms and DMT, psilocybin, going with the shamans. Maybe you don't agree with that. Maybe you see that as something as, I don't trust this guy anymore because he's dabbling in these worlds. And don't take that personally. Just get the information. Always create your own philosophy. Create your own truths by what you read and listen. Don't take the things the author or others have done personally. Like maybe they've made mistakes. Maybe they've robbed and they've gone to jail. They've abused their wife. Maybe they've abused their kids. Maybe they've been divorced and you don't agree. You know, I'm reading a book on marriage, but this guy's been divorced or this woman has been divorced. Don't take any mistakes they are mentioning in the book as personally and take you away from reading this book or shut your mind on what the book is trying to do for you. Don't take the author's lifestyle personally. If he's homosexual, transgender, or if he is a minimalist, he likes living with very minimal things, or he's someone who believes that we live in abundance and that we shouldn't think at all and be not frugal, or you should be frugal. Whatever his lifestyle is, don't take that personally. Don't take any predictions that the author's making or others in that book are making. Maybe it's talking about an industry you work in, or you've built a career in, and he's saying in 10 years that industry, those jobs are going to be obsolete. Don't take that personally. Say, okay, let's look into this. If the author is a good author, he has some research backing up, he has some experts backing up his claims, and maybe it's an opportunity for you to start pivoting, switching, gaining a new skill value in that new industry you're in. The third agreement is don't make assumptions. This is very key for life, but especially reading books. Not especially, but in life it's key, but in books it's also very helpful. So when you're reading book reviews on books, like on Goodreads, or you're watching a TV show and you're doing a review of a book, don't assume because it's a good review it's going to be a good book, or if it's a bad review it's going to be a bad book. Don't base on that assumption on why you're going to read a book. Don't base a book that you're going to read that, oh, this book won't help me. It's about a subject that has nothing to do with me. Or anything like psychology. Like, I'm not a psychologist, so I don't understand psychology. Don't make that assumption. Don't make assumptions on a book by the credentials of an author, or if he doesn't have credentials. If he's not a professor or an expert or professional, don't assume that this book was not going to help me because he's not a professional. Or don't assume that, oh, this book is going to help me because he's a professional, he's an expert, he's a professor. He's well read. He's so smart. Don't assume. Don't judge a book by book cover. So don't assume that the book's going to be good just looking at the cover. A lot is being put into the copy, the headlines, the subtitles. All that is being put into. Don't assume by just the cover, or it looks really pretty. Don't assume that it's different for you, so it's not relevant. Maybe the author grew up as an immigrant and like, oh, I'm not an immigrant, so this is not going to relate with me. Maybe he grew up going to a good college and like, oh, I didn't go to a good college, so this is not going to be relevant to me. You know, he had a head start. No. Or he's more smart than me. Don't assume that it's not going to be relevant to you. The fourth agreement is be impeccable with your word. This is a good one for life, and it's also good for words. And the way I would approach this, the way I'm going to recommend for you, is your self-talk, or when you're recommending books. Self-talk is like in your mind. Don't grab books and be like, or look at books and then be like, oh, it's too short, it won't help me. Look at that book, it's short. How is a short book really going to help someone? Or this book is too long, I can't read books like this long, and I'm not going to remember any of it anyways. You're speaking death to the book. You're speaking death to yourself. Maybe the book is going to help you. Don't use your words to speak against things that might help you. Maybe it's on subjects you don't care about, and don't grab the book and say, or someone's recommending, hey, you should read this book, it'll help you. Like, psychology books? I don't care about no psychology. Be impeccable with your word. You know, switch it to a positive way of using your words. You know, this is going to help you. I have an episode called How to Build Your Reading Muscles. You need to build those muscles to be a really good reader. And being impeccable with your word is key with that. So if someone recommends you a book and you look at it and it's very long, or it's old, or it's new, be like, oh, it's a new book? Oh, it's going to be fresh information. It's going to help me, you know, analyze things, debate in my mind if it's true or not, or if it's older book, it's like, oh, these foundations can still be used today. Some of these, a lot of them I can't, but some can. So you're speaking positive, you're speaking impeccable with your word. It also helps you to expand your capacity to ingest content. When you're being impeccable with your word, you're allowing yourself to read longer books, shorter books, different subjects, older books, newer books. helps you to explore new ideas, create new strategies, build on the strategies you have, reinforce beliefs, create new beliefs, just by being impeccable with your word. Because you're not shutting doors with your mouth on books. Now, the action. All right. The action I want for you guys is when you're reading or picking or being recommended a book, like the episode says, always do your best. Always do your best when you're going to pick a book. Always do your best when you're going to recommend a book. Don't take anything personal while reading books or getting recommendations from books. Don't make assumptions that the book isn't going to be for you or not. And be impeccable with your word when you're looking at books, reading books, recommending books. The reading challenge. I'm at 75 books out of 100 books. Amazing pace. The reason I'm so ahead is audiobooks. Guys, I have an episode on audiobooks and it's really, really accelerated my reading. So let's connect. Let's talk about our reading challenges. Let's help us create new episodes. Give me some ideas. Tell me if you're enjoying it, if anything I'm recommending is working. I'm going to continue to, document this journey. It's going to be fun. So catch you on the next one. Please subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Anchor, or any other platform that has podcasts so you don't miss my next episode titled Books versus Mass Media, Social Media, and Independent Media.